And we have cat ears the entire podcast. Welcome to another episode of More Than Dice. I'm Gonzo.
I'm John.
I'm Nerd.
Welcome to episode 274. Today we're going to be talking about how we play the games we play and why we play the games we play. Mostly it's going to kind of center around like role playing, but it also will, go into some miniature gaming. And it's going to be like, why do we choose the games we do? How do we play those games the way we play them? But before we do that, let's go ahead and get to the nitty gritty. We want to thank Creature Caster, the makers of awesome miniatures and working on the Judgment Eternal. Don't forget, if you like 5th edition modules, you can join their tribe and download a module a month and roughly 10 models that go with the module. Very good detailed stuff. 3D printed STLs. Been printing a lot of their things. We want to thank Turbo Dork. Turbo Dork makes awesome color shifting, or what they call them, turbo shifting paints and good metallics. And they're one of our good sponsors for Warfare Weekend. We want to thank Midnight Heroes. Oh, and don't forget, we got the palettes, the silicone palettes.
I picked up to show it off, and one of these things actually, all of it came out. All the dried paint came out.
Yeah. Next week, we will give away a gift certificate to Turbo Dork. And so you can win and get some cool stuff from them. Let's go back to Midnight Heroes. We want to thank them. They're doing good chibi miniatures. They're going to be at Warfare Weekend, and they just released the picture of the exclusive Warfare Weekend model, chibi pirate model of Vera. Which will be on sale at Warfare Weekend. I did get an advanced copy, and I'll probably be painting that on air probably next week. And then let's see, who else do we got? We've got Parabellum War Games, makers of Conquest. Make sure you check out that game if you get like a good rank and flank game. You can go ahead and get in there and get some awesome miniatures. I mean, who doesn't like orcs running dinosaurs? We want to thank Muse on Minis for hosting the podcast and getting it out to the peoples. Make sure you check them out. There's a lot of different podcasts on there, not just ours, but also don't forget that we do have channels that are underneath our banner that we help, get their get their name out and get their podcast out to everybody else, because we just try to help each other out. The Boker Broadcast, Tried and True, which, by the way, Boker Broadcasts are very awesome, and Seth is an amazing runner. The Tried and True people just released a web page that, if you're looking for War Machine players, you can click in your area and see if you can find out who they are, which is, and they do it for free. There's no money involved. It's just, hey, here's a website, and, I'm looking for people in this area. You can click it, find people in the area, and find out where they play, which I think is pretty good. And Tried and True people are just good people at heart anyway. Did I miss anybody?
Don't think so.
I don't think I did. I think I got everybody. So.
Almost like you should have a checklist.
Yeah, I should probably. Well, I've been doing this for almost 6 years. I should probably know this by now. But sponsors change and sponsors come and sponsors go.
Someone once told me memory is the first thing to go.
Oh, well, fuck yeah, I'm old. Let's not forget about that.
I don't remember who that was, though.
Yeah, I don't either. But guys, we do have some shout outs this week, and I don't remember who they were either, and some of them I don't even recognize.
Jesus, I'm sorry.
I did it on purpose.
I can think of one.
I at least know two more besides the one I know you're going to know.
Okay.
Because you're going to go with Dumbledore, the second Dumbledore.
Yes.
Michael Gambon, yep.
I don't know who the rest of them were.
David McCollum, who played Ducky on NCIS, in addition to being Ilya on the first The Man from U.N.C.L.E., plus a bunch of other stuff in between. Because that's like, beginning and end of career, and it's like fucking years and years between.
He also wrote music.
Yeah. It was very enjoyable. It's sad to see him go. I think he had retired from NCIS a while ago, but
Yeah.
much like me, I haven't watched NCIS in a while. But he was very enjoyable on it. I even saw some early episodes of Man from Uncle. He was enjoyable on that as well. Those are pretty much the things that saw him on. Besides when he and his Man from Uncle co-host, who's Robert Vaughn, both guest starred on an episode of the A-Team, which was funny.
Nice. Nice.
And then the other one I know is Brooks Robinson, who was a longtime Baltimore Oriole, very beloved in the city, and people were very sad to see him go. Plus, I think there was a Boston Red Sox, Wakefield, who just passed. I'm not super familiar with the Boston Red Sox. They're kind of the enemy, but it's still sad to see someone go, and it did not look. I don't think he was of age. I think it was tragic. I mean, it's all tragic, but Tim Wakefield, that's him. Yeah, 57. So, I mean, that's very tragic. I've seen. Trying to see if I can find out how would he pass from. No, really? Hold on. No, can't find it because this is. They don't like me blocking ads.
Go figure.
Brain cancer, apparently. So that's extra.
Oof.
Cancer can go fuck itself.
Fuck cancer.
Fuck cancer. Yeah.
Fuck cancer.
So there you go. So it was a heck of a week. Get worried because they usually come in threes, and that means another actor and another sports figure.
John, what are you drinking tonight?
I have a gin mule, which is like a mule, just instead of vodka, I'm using gin. And the other part of the gin is because you use ginger beer.
Gin, because you're using ginger beer?
Mm-hmm. So they call it gin mule.
I'm not a ginger person. Don't.
No, you're not. Your hair's like much more brownish, and I mean,
Whatever.
that's going gray.
Whatever.
I am drinking Wicked Grove caramel apple hard cider again this
That
week.
sounds good.
Yeah. Good old Aldi.
I am still taking it easy. I just recently got over all of my allergy stuff and everything, and so I am drinking water.
Take it easy. I am taking it
Surprise.
easy. It's the only drink I've had all week.
So
Or
I'm just taking it
nothing,
easy
but-
just for a little bit more because I've got, just getting over the stuff.
I am 100% not judging, sir. If you want to drink water from now to the end of time, you do you.
So I'm going to be drinking the water for a bit, making sure I'm good and hydrated, especially with all the work and walking I've been doing. Every day at work, I've been doing about 13 to 15,000 steps a day. So I need to keep hydrated.
Yeah.
Type stuff. So, guys, like usual, make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you look after each other. If you see something, say something. If you hear something, say something. And if you can do something, do something. If you can't, find someone that will. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. The recipe I found adds a little bit of simple syrup in it, and it's just enough to just take the edge off it, make it from becoming too, I don't know, too much bite.
What kind of gin did you use?
Bombay Sapphire? Oh, I saw that face.
No, I don't like juniper, so I still have yet to find a gin that I like.
The first batch I got was Beefeater. It was fine. I like this better. There's more to the flavor. It's not just like drinking fucking Pine Sol. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not
I don't
like that,
wanna-
but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, gin's tough like that. It's also hard to find around here. A lot of the smaller stores don't have it or don't have it like a good selection of it. I mean, we're very much redneck here. They're not very gin people.
Fair.
Let's be honest, there's a lot of Miller Lite and shit going around.
Hey, Arda Michael. Tasty.
But yeah, this is just the right level. You don't really get any of that, harshness of the gin. You just get some good flavors from it.
I had an apple cider mule while that had like ginger beer and stuff in it. It was very good.
That sounds very good, actually. Shit makes man mean. So drink up and let's try it.
So this last week, for people that haven't listened to the pre-ramble, I played my Dark Urges portion of Baldur's Gate, which the Dark Urges is you play pretty much evil as hell. You do a lot of bad things. I'm not going to spoil it for people that are going to do it. And actually, some really hard choices in the game just to be bad. And there's a lot of negative choices and negative things happen to you for being bad. And there's some pretty violent things that happen. But I wanted to do it because I want to experience the whole gambit of the game. For people who know, I've played it as a pretty good character, and played the game and beat it and was happy with it. Did try a very goody two shoes version of it, but I didn't see much of a change. Not enough to make me go, oh, okay, I want to continue this, and that's the reason why I decided to do a Dark Urges. And man, this was pretty. There's some pretty shocking scenes, and I was like, I'm not gonna be able to. I'm gonna finish it, but it got me thinking about when I play RPGs. Now, I usually, depending on my class and depending on how I build, and also depending on who I'm playing with, depends on how and what my character is going to do. But for the most part, when we're playing, we're always going to ask the GM, hey, what type of campaign is this? Is this going to be a silly campaign? Is this going to be, what's the theme type stuff? Nerd is always going to be, she's always doing like a lot of silly stuff, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm actually going more serious this round.
Whoa. Usually you got pretty silly.
I've already kidnapped a child and murdered her brother.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Wow.
And then
within the first session.
I like when I run a little bit darker type of things. Doesn't mean that there's not comedy and fun in it, but I usually run a little bit darker campaigns, a little bit more serious campaigns. John, when you typically are building something, what's your go-to?
Well, I mean, I have stuck with the same player, so everything ends up being silly at some point.
That's what it seems like. It always starts off as Lord of the Rings and end up as Monty Hall at the end.
Oh, we don't really even start off Lord of the Rings. We might have the idea of Lord of the Rings, but we end up fucking immediately being silly. I mean, but so something you said gave me some pause is you shouldn't have to ask the GM what type of campaign it is. That should be part of the elevator pitch, which we've talked about many, many times.
Correct.
That should be pretty clear from the get-go.
Yes. It is. I'm just saying that, when the GM's like, hey, I want to run something, you're like, hey, what type of game are you going to be running? Type stuff. And that, if you've got a good gaming group, they've already, you've kind of got it established and you kind of know, unless the GM's like, hey, this is what I run, or this is what I want to run, this is the theme that I want to go with and such. And now for me, I like a little bit more dark, a little bit more realistic. I don't like the silliness as much. Doesn't mean that it can't be. It's just I like a good dramatic story when I role play. And I've had players that have always wanted to say, hey, I want to play this game, and I'm going to, because in the grand scheme of things, we're all there to have fun. Let's not forget that. We're all there to have fun.
No matter what other people say, that is how you win a role-playing game.
Yes.
You all have fun.
But I've had players that say, hey, I want to be a little bit evil. Or the story has progressed and like the bad guy has given them something, that they can't pass up. And they're like, hey, I kind of want to be evil. I want to kind of backstab the party. It's like the end of the, the story or whatever, or at a certain part. And I'm like, okay. I get that.
I I've tried doing that and as a player, and that campaign has yet to bring that to fruition because that's been on hold indefinitely. Like,
I
no.
I would very much give it pause if someone asked me that because the other players aren't going to have fun with it very likely,
Yeah,
and that becomes putting one player's fun above the others. So it's I would definitely have to give it some thought before I would let something like that go, because that should be the main thing. Is all of the players should have agency in the story.
yeah.
Yeah.
So giving it one, like I know what they want to do. Like I've had one player, do stupid shit and say like I'm gonna do this, and then write the character out. He's like I'm not gonna play the character anymore, and they put a new character in. So it's cool because that becomes something where it's just outside complications on what they're doing.
I was going to say one of the things that usually happens either A, it's at the very end of the story, and this person, I had a campaign, an Earth On campaign, and this guy didn't stop the players from doing what they were doing, but when it came down to the big bad guy, he stabbed them in the back at the very end of the story because there was a definite end to the story. And he didn't really stab them in the back, he just joined the other side and started fighting for the other side. And that went through. And it was the end of the campaign. Nothing bad, really bad happened. No characters, went bad. But then I also had someone said, "Hey, this character I see going to the dark side, and I'd like to go to the dark side, but I don't want to play the character after the character's gone to the dark side. I want you to turn it into an NPC." And I go, "Okay, I can do that. That's no problem whatsoever." It's like, and then I'll make another character who comes in, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I like that more than anything. If it's in the middle of a campaign or
Well, yeah,
in that
especially
area.
because you can play it through the game and it might evolve to something different when, they start acting on those, if you will, dark urges during the game and the other PCs notice and you'll get some good role playing out of it, very likely.
Yeah.
But something else is, when a campaign's going to end? I can tell you that I have run many, many a campaign and most of them don't have civic endpoints just because in that playstyle, I'm much more sandbox. Get the world, get some basic stuff for them to do, and then let them do what they fucking want.
And see, I run like, here's my story that I want to tell, and I want y'all to partake it. I don't tell them what the end point is. The journey to get to the end point is the whole thing. But at one point, eventually, the story will end, and that's whenever this one campaign, it was very much. I mean, and we played it for 2 years. So it wasn't like it was like a one shot or a few months. It was a long, long campaign, and this character got tempted by the dark side, and at the very end of the last battle of fighting these people, it was they're riding off to go fight the bad guy, and this character goes, you know what? I like what the bad guy's doing. I see where he's coming from. I'm going to join him. And everybody was like, oh shit, type thing. And so they, but it played out and it was a good story and everybody enjoyed it. Thought it was a lot of fun.
Well, the only game I've played that had an endpoint was Three Gnomes and a Half Giant, which I ran a little bit ago. And that's because one of the players was leaving. So I'm like, well, he's leaving, so we're going to have a set endpoint. So I ran that one with an endpoint in mind. And it ended pretty good. But most of the ones we don't necessarily run like that,
Yeah. But I mean, and that was something that came up when I was playing this Dark Urges, because I was like, you couldn't play this as a RPG because of what was going on and how evil you're doing stuff, because you're players that are just going to leave. They're like, no, that's not what it's going to be about. Unless you're starting out
a game
that way.
would always be your game. You would start off with that, like, hey, we're going to play the bad guys.
Correct.
You guys get to all do the bad guy stuff you wanted to do. That would be interesting for like a short one. That would one I would run with an endpoint in mind. But otherwise, no, you're not going to turn evil in the middle of it necessarily, because most of the players aren't going to like that. That's one of those things they would people betray them. They take that shit personally.
But also, I think some people, and we've said this before numerous times, that if somebody says they want to play evil, you can play evil, but you don't have to be a dick.
Yes.
And that's the line that I have not crossed with my character, is that, like, I've been slowly hinting that my character is going evil, so it's not going to be a complete surprise when the party may or may not have to kill me, but I actually want them to kill me because it gives me powers.
Well, also, it's the thing is people think being evil suddenly means, all this stuff. It doesn't. No, it doesn't. Like, people who are evil still have friends. Hey,
Oh,
these
Yeah,
are still my friends. I've adventured with them for years. I don't want them dead.
they
I
helped
think
me
they're
with
doing
my
the wrong
goals.
thing.
because I've made it my end goal for the character to be if you can't defeat them or if you can't kill them, become them.
Well, there's been
Better than a rule in hell.
a.
Yep.
I mean,
Most of my characters are more of the blaze of glory go down fighting, but
are they
I've played
friends or
some
minions? That's pretty good
morally
article.
questions. Well, what's the thing is, so that's a common thought, and there's nothing wrong with it, but people think that just because you're evil, you can't have friends and people you care about, and that's not true.
Yeah.
That
Because, like,
if you look at all of the evil characters in movies and media that we actually are like, man, I actually kind of like that guy. It's not because we like their goals; it's because they have honor and convictions. They just believe differently, and they're not necessarily wrong. It's just that they have a different point of view. You know, I
So, would you
always
think that
point back
Thanos had
to
friends?
the Thanos as they wrote him. No, because like respect everyone who likes that particular villain. He's not a fucking good villain.
What would
I
be a
mean,
good villain that has friends and stuff like that that actually that you could put that relationship to.
well, I mean, there you go. Xander did Vulture from Spider-Man: Homecoming. He cared about his people.
Yep,
He is a villain, and
hmm
he's an adversary, but it's not like he's got no morals at all.
correct.
true.
There's a lot of them that are written, especially in comic books. Doctor Doom.
Foxbat?
Oh, that's a character from a Champions role playing game. He's actually one of theirs.
Oh,
He's Deadpool before Deadpool, but not as violent.
gotcha.
You get very Deadpool vibes from him, but he's not like super violent. In fact, he's the opposite of violent. He's like the perfect type of golden age silly villain who's not murderous or anything stupid like that. Well, he thinks he's in a comic book, and the heroes need a proper villain in the comic book, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to be the proper villain. But there's a lot like Doctor Doom. I was talking about to somebody earlier about one of my favorite villains is fucking the operative from Serenity. He would
Mm-hmm.
have people he cares. He cares about the people. That's what breaks him in the end. He just understands his goal is he is going to be the one who does the things that have to be done. He is the ends that justify the means, and he's okay with that to a point until he's not, and he realizes, the greater evil of the government who doesn't care. That's the kind of thing where you can do that.
Correct.
You can have bad guys who team up with the fucking hold on, Farscape sort of middle season.
Oh.
Scorpius was actually, he has people he cares about. He's not just killing everyone because he's, a cold-blooded murderer. That's let's be honest, terrible writing. But I don't want to say terrible. It's very cliched writing to get the point of a villain across. You're the villain who shoots people just because he can.
Yes,
Correct.
the smoking man from X-Files. I was just trying to remember.
You get other villains who have more nuanced things, like you know, top of my head, Die Hard.
Mm.
The villains from the first four Die Hard movies, I'm in the fifth one because I have standards, all care about it when certain ones of their minions get killed. Yeah, they may have disposable minions, but they have people they care about. I'm like, oh, you know, Hans Gruber didn't like that all those people were getting killed. He actually cared about. He doesn't care, but he was interested in their well-being enough. He wasn't just shooting his minions because they're fucking failing.
Yeah.
The Colonel from fucking Die Hard 2 was upset when his, guy who worked with him helped him. Well, this got killed, and then some of the bad guys, maybe not so much, but some of them in Die Hard 3. But Die Hard 4, Like the main Timothy Oliphant is upset when his main henchman is killed. It's not like, people take it just because she's a woman and there was nothing laid out sexual between them. It's just was an effective person upset that she was killed. But then again, he had people who were just hired on, and he's like, we got to get room to cover loose ends. There's nuance to it, and I think that's important. And we sort of gotten off topic. I apologize.
No, but it brings a good point because I've had people say they want to play evil before, and they're like, oh, they've all gotten together. They've gone a little bit of an adventure. They got a little bit of money, and the guy's like, okay, while everybody's asleep, I'm going to stab everybody in their sleep. That's not evil. That's
No,
just
that's insane.
that's just crazy.
You're a murderer hobo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it is evil, but it's not the same thing. There are
Yeah.
levels to it.
I mean,
Like, my
Go ahead,
character
nerd.
has no intention of screwing over the party.
Oh yeah, they
They're
want you
gonna
to kill him to make
they're
you more
gonna
powerful.
think that she took all these evil power or these dark powers because she is turning evil when in fact, I mean, yes, a little bit, but for the most part, she's still the same person and still cares
Mhm.
about them.
Yeah, exactly. That I think that's good. If you can write that into a game, then that's how we're sort of the evil party returning evil at the end, the heel turn at the end is okay. But I think we get too used to cliched portrayals of villains and forget that there might be some nuance there.
well, excuse me. There's also you're playing a game with a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
You're there for having fun, and I don't have a problem if somebody wants to play an evil character, as long as it's not just I'm going to stab everybody in the back, or I'm going to stab everybody in their sleep, or doing that.
So
That's not evil.
This
That's
is where like the D&D alignments are very excessively needlessly constraining. They are trying too hard to define stuff that's not fully definable. And a rare statement that don't expect to hear too often. I think the Palladium book, since they're one of the first, let's say, riffs off of D&D, actually did much better with their alignments, where they made three different types, where you have, kind of good and good, and then you have selfish alignments, and then the more evil alignments. But even those have nuance to them. Because let's be honest, there's a fine line between evil and selfishness. You could just be in it for more power for yourself, but you don't want your friends to get hurt. There's a lot of things there, and I think anytime you let players look at that, you need to make sure they know what line. It's not all gonna be, Stanley Whiplash tying the people to the fucking trailer tracks to you fucking exactly. It's not all gonna be that. And I think that's a fine line that's hard to ride for people.
I agree with you. There's if you find someone that can play an evil character correctly, it's still going to be a fun time for everybody involved.
He still may be helpful stuff to the party. He may be helpful to people. He just might be, I don't care about your leave people alive morals. I'm going to do it my fucking way.
Yeah.
I've had that plenty of times playing a paladin where they've been like, the party's like, okay, behind his back, when he's not looking, we're going to gank these fuckers that were prisoners because they tried to escape or something, because they don't want to be arsed with it. And they're not turning against me. They don't want to turn against me. They're just like, I don't want this fucking extra pain in my ass because he's got some principles.
Yeah.
That's called party interaction. That's fun.
Yeah, like we have a character that I got so into the moment that he thought I legitimately was getting mad at him, and I was just role playing that hard at the moment. And so he like messaged me out of game going like, are we okay? I'm like, yes. No. This is all within character because my character is convinced you're evil.
Mm-hmm.
And is tired of you arguing with them.
Oh yes, that's sort of a style. Like I would say that in our topic is a play style not a lot of people use, because there's a lot of potentially misinterpreted, and sometimes if you're going to be, I don't want to say blatantly evil, but I'll use the sort of blatantly evil, but not like antagonistic to the party. You may want to tell the party like, hey, I'm playing the guy who's going to be evil. You guys are going to see me do shit. You're not going to like it, and it's okay. We're going to roleplay around it. So that way they're clear where you're coming from, like, so they're in on it, let's say. And that's the biggest
Yeah.
thing. If you can have the whole party in on something, then have them in on something. That is totally not nice, Banyan. Spencer just plays a dick. He's not a dick. And it's just that one character, and maybe one of the other characters. And maybe that other one too, but not generally.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the first time my evil character is the first time I've ever done anything like that. But it was something that I had talked out with my DM from the get-go.
Yeah. And and sometimes it's good just to have that character. People get used to your style. John plays pretty much the good guy and all that. Then when I play something completely off topic, I got a guy where it's like we're playing and the GM's role playing one of the NPCs like he's a stoner and an idiot. We're trying to get around to Carney's being obstinate and stupid, and I look at the party leader who is Norin. I point at my silenced gun in my under my coat, and he gives me the nod, so I shoot him. He thought I was just going to threaten him, but that's sort of the thing, Those are the surprise, fun moments where people are like, "What? What just happened?"
Yeah, like we had talked about me taking, as I put it, the Daenerys Targaryen route, where the likelihood of somebody trying to kill me along the way is pretty high.
Yeah. It's all in good fun. Like I said, if you can keep everyone in on it, well, that's totally different, actually, Mania. No, that wasn't against PCs. That was just fun role playing. If you can get the other party members in on it, it's much more interesting.
Yeah.
And I suggest that whenever possible, if you're going to do something different as a GM, have your players, if you can get the players in on it, if they're good enough role players, or it's not something that needs to be hidden, get them in on it. I mean, this full surprise heel turn can be fun if played right, but having them in on it's much more interesting. Because it's good role playing at that point. It's okay if we have meta knowledge. My players actually are very good at not using meta knowledge, which I love. That's important.
Yeah,
that's another style thing you need to know about people, if they're good at it or not. Because I've met people who they say they're good at it, but you suddenly see them edging towards what they don't know, and you're like,
I've had to curb that, and I'll just straight up be like, that's not something your character would know.
Exactly.
Or I'll just call them out and be like, that's enough metagaming. Like you guys are over planning between turns.
I'm much more subtle in that if they metagame and I catch them metagaming on something they shouldn't know, I just change the thing that they know and make it completely different and something that fucks them.
The troll actually needs snow to completely kill it, not fire.
Acid, not fire. Acid work.
Yeah.
Maybe you got to cut off its head and burn it, but the rest of the body, who knows? Just change stuff. Because we had that in one D&D game. Someone's like, "Oh, a troll, you gotta burn them to do it," and someone's like, "Do we know that? We're like second level. We should be running away from trolls, not fighting them. We just happen to have some fire." And the GM's like, "You would not know that. This is before there were skill checks. I know I'm old. Deal with it." So that kind of stuff comes up. But that's sort of what playstyle it is, You could also, a lot of games nowadays have, and this will go into part of our topic in a second, have some sort of function where you can spend some sort of inspiration or points of some variety to do things. Now usually it's theoretically limited to in-game stuff, but that doesn't mean you can't use it otherwise. And I tend to gravitate to those sorts of games. So when I'm choosing games, I tend to gravitate towards stuff that's a little more flexible like that. And if not, I tend to add something on the end. What kind of games do you gravitate towards?
I know. When I run something, like I said, I usually like a more darker, more serious type game and I always play, this is the story. There is a end to this story. How we get there is going to be a whole different story. But there is an end point.
Please say story again.
Story.
Story?
Story. Because I want to tell a story. So, and now I do like a bit darker games that are, I know you call them edge lord, but they're more drama filled.
I jokingly call them
Yeah, you
edgelord
do. You
because I
do
was around
jokingly.
when Vampire came out.
Yeah, you do jokingly. It is a joking manner, but yes, um, a bit more drama filled, a bit more role playing field, because that's the way I
Uh,
like a lot of role play
More
filled.
soap opera, one might say, because
Could be,
say
yeah,
what you will about soap operas, they are very dramatic,
yeah.
overly sometimes.
But I also like when people have their characters show emotion. There's been so many games that I'll play, and it's like I roll the dice, I don't hit, go back to looking at something else.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
a good point. But I think let's go through the games you choose. And what games do you kind of games do you usually choose? Is there a mechanic or is there something else that like makes a game that maybe someone else wouldn't choose become one that you want to choose?
Um, for me, let's see.
I'm hitting with the hard questions now. Sorry, just coming at you.
Stumping nerd.
I haven't played a whole lot of variety of role-playing games, so I'm gonna go with Blades in the Dark because it allows like the whole planning backwards mechanic of flashbacks
Mhm.
and that sort of thing. Like I absolutely loved it, and it forces you to role play more in
Mm.
between and like have conversations and all that kind of stuff in order to get things done.
No, that's awesome. I love games that add uh, a role play mechanic to it. Though generally speaking, when I choose a game that's more. I look more mechanically at the game because, and I said this about fourth edition D&D because everyone went crazy. Is like I don't need a game to tell me how to role play. We're doing this for a minute. I understand. Me and my team, we understand how to role play, so we don't need it. Like extra stuff in there is good. I don't this kind of, but what I look for is mechanically. That's why I go to either champion slash hero games because quite literally mechanically I can do anything I need to. Or I go completely opposite of the crunch of that game and I go to something like Feng Shui 2, where it's just like it is super simple and it becomes how you describe things so much more. And like you said, people just like Gonzo said, people roll their dice, missed, and go on. You describe it. Like I don't necessarily get to do it as much as I want. Sometimes I'm just doing too much, but I try to. Um, Even when they're doing D&D with this new group every other Friday, we haven't played in a bit, but I would describe sometimes jokingly, sometimes fully seriously what happens. And I'm not worried so much about the rules. Made a roll that hits. Let's make it sound cool, Or you can describe something. I'm going to do this cool thing, and you get a bonus. In fact, in Feng Shui 2, if you just go, I shoot him. The first time it's okay. Yeah, after that, you're going to start getting a penalty because you're not actioning it out. You can go as far as like I diving roll, spin up and land and on one knee and shoot him. Awesome, that's good enough.
Can I do a spin and shoot?
Just absolutely. If you do the spin and shoot, just do it faster than they did it in fucking Book of Boba Fett, and it'd be fine. Oh, I remember. I don't think I don't. I mean,
I might need to rewatch that.
last episode, the one scooter guy, like at that point, he does a spin and shoot. I knew exactly who the director was at that exact moment because I hadn't paid attention. I'm like, oh, that's Robert Rodriguez. I can fucking tell.
Oh,
And it
yeah.
was.
Okay, I know which episode you're talking about now.
Yeah, yeah. Like, just like Book of Boba Fett, I actually think it's fine. I think it's actually a good idea of what an evil campaign would be. Because it's evil, but it's benevolent evil. Like, he's still a criminal overlord, but he's like, if you pay him homage and stuff, it'll be fine. I'm fine with that, but there's a couple things in there. The scooter chase was a little slow.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, I like describing things more, and I think we lose that art sometimes. And I understand sometimes we're just busy; it's a lot going on, and as GMs more than anyone else, we need to look at that because you have too much going on, and you are so worried about the details, you're not doing the little flourishes. That's what I love so much about watching um, Matt Mercer or Brendan Lee Mulligan or any of those people. They're always ready. And I know they have prep time. This is a job for them, but I just love that they're ready and they have that flourish, that character, that voice, that something to add on to a game every fucking time. And it's great. I love that. And I think if anyone takes anything away from those things, don't look at just how professionally and polished that shit is. look at the flourishes, not just the GMs put on there, but the players.
Yeah.
Look at that stuff because you can emulate that stuff. You're not going to hit that level. Those are fucking professionals. Don't worry about that. But emulate it. Like when you look at art or a paint job, I want to emulate that. Do the same thing with the role playing. It's good. And that's why sometimes you would like to choose a game that you're familiar with. And the play style, regardless of what you think your play style is, you should always start with a game you're familiar with or understand that you're taking on a lot. You're familiar with Blades in the Dark. You can run that. Cool. Gonzo's familiar with a couple different systems that he can run. I'm familiar with some systems, but sometimes you're going to play something you're not familiar with. You don't have that system master. Understand, stuff's going to feel weird. You're going to feel like you're not doing well for a bit. But try and ride it through, or switch back. Like we were doing fourth edition for this last game I ran, and it just, I mean, I don't have the system mastery thing anymore. I like it, but just don't have it. So we switched to something where I was a little more familiar, and it runs better. Sometimes just having that. Sometimes going to the simplest possible system. And I'll say this for playstyle: if you know D&D, but you want to run something that's not D&D, don't just say, "Oh well, I can't run anything." Go out there to this wide world of people who have been in this hobby for forever, and we will happily help you make a skin for D&D that is fucking whatever you want. Like literally, I mean this more than anything. At Jono Spencer on Twitter, just fucking reach out to me. I will help you. This is what I fucking do for a hobby for years. There was a long years where I didn't do miniature games, just did role playing games, didn't play a lot of video games. It was role playing games and making stuff for role playing games, and it's just fun. If it's familiar to you, it'll help. Or, I mean, sometimes you want the challenge on something else, but playstyle wise, I think you gravitate towards a game because it fits you. You understand it. You grok it, if you understand that meaning. That's a funny thing to say. Anyways. And sometimes you gotta stick with it. Gonzo and I will both shoehorn all sorts of genres that shouldn't necessarily be in a game into a game because we know it. Gonzo a little less than me because he has like 7,000 role-playing games on his fucking shelf. And I only have like 700.
Yeah, because I mean...
Like 7.
Well, it's like somebody recently that says, "Hey, I'm looking to do a role-playing game, but I'm not sure what I want." And I go, "Let me ask a few questions."
Yeah, that's where it goes. But that play style, like we we're talking about, why we play the way we do, that is important because that's in your soul. My old podcast, we had Ropagani on, and prior to it, he had said play style. This isn't like on our cast. He said this in the wild. Play style doesn't really exist, and then he's talking to miniature games, and that is bullshit. In everything, play style exists because there's a certain way your mind works. And if you're doing something in the way your mind works, even if it's not ideal, you do better. You'll see it when you play video games. Some people are fucking YOLO and it just works for them because you grok how to YOLO. You know the the way to make all offense and no defense work. Sometimes it's just the way it is. And it works for everything. Role-playing games too. You just might understand the way that these mechanics work. I may be like, those mechanics are a little complicated, and you might be like, nah, I totally understand it intuitively. It's great. Use that. Get used to filing off the serial numbers and using whatever. I joked that we played a D&D game with 4th edition with no dragons officially in the world. There were no dragons. They had left. But boy, did not my PCs fight a lot of dragons. Just file the serial numbers off.
Yep. So, my first homebrew was Dungeons and Dragons with no dragons.
It's a common thing. It's sort of like, it's the Dragonlance in me, I love Dragonlance. And the whole discovery of them coming back. It was part of the Big Raider story, and I won't go into it because I might run that campaign or that world again. And they've not yet resolved the whole thing, despite like multiple campaigns running there. In fact, technically speaking, 3 Gnomes and a Half Giant ran in that campaign system too. So, Art of Michael Lavoie is kind of happy with 4th edition. Yeah, 4th edition D&D was just mismanaged. It's a good system. Don't overlook it. If you have a bunch of war gamers, and here's where playstyle comes in. If you have a bunch of war gamers who like to role play, it's a great system for them because it has those elements.
I like the skill challenges of 4th edition.
Yes, a great idea. They didn't really explain them perfectly. I think that was a writing issue, but I love the idea of them. But I love the fact that, at the point we were running fourth edition, most of my group worked at Games Workshop. We were all war gamers. So having a war game on top of role playing, we would role play. There's plenty of role playing in our games. But having that wargaming system that we would grok and get into combat gave us more time to do it because we understand tact. We don't have to think about tactical movement. We're just going. So that gave us more time to do other things. Xanderford says, "Has Pope more of a builder of a mafia for Book of Boba?" Yeah, that'd have been nicer. But Art of Michael Lavoie also says, "Was happy to finally play a Star Wars game today. 3 new players at the table. It was a riot." That is awesome. One of my buddies
Nice.
actually had asked me, "Hey John, what Star Wars rules do you recommend?" And I'm like, "Well, what games do you have? Because there are at
A
least 3
lot.
different versions of actual Star Wars, whether it be the West End D6 system, very good, very underrated. You can find it pretty cheap online because it's like an OGL type of thing now. There's the WotC D20 version. It's fine, but clearly the worst of the 3. And then there's the new FFG one, which is good, but you might have a problem finding dice for it now because it uses the same dice as Genesis, and they've stopped making those, though there are Etsy builders. And if you need to find those dice, just hit up John. John will point you in the right direction.
Yeah, I
And then
actually
Xanderford said,
ran the
Mhm.
the Star Wars in the FFG, and
It's a
it
good
was
game.
great. And it was a good campaign. It ran over a year
Genesis is
long.
a game that needs really more supplements to make it great. I really wish they would have done that, but let's just say COVID put a bullet in that shit.
Yeah, yeah, I like
Um,
that one. That was a
he's
good fun
he said
system.
it was Age of Rebellion, or Edge of the Empire are the 2 better ones because I mean Star Wars is a trap. Running anything in a universe that already exists is a trap. And I say that because it's really hard to do because your PCs need to have an effect on the outcomes. You need to be small potatoes or willing to change the story. And Age of Rebellion is good because you're rebels fighting the Empire. You can have lots of victories and stuff that are mighty for you, but the Empire doesn't really fucking care and barely notices. So it doesn't affect the overall rebellion so much as more as keeping it good. Um, Edge of the Empire, you're playing fucking criminals and smugglers. There's plenty of room there. So you just gotta be careful. Let's see. Finish up some comments here. Xander Warlord says, sometimes playing a game in a familiar area allows some people to play what they know and eases troubles, like playing a Shadowrun game in St. Louis, Seattle. Absolutely. One of the best games we played was we had a San Francisco native, was in town. His wife was in the military. And he's like, oh, yeah, I know San Francisco. So I'm like, oh, cool. I like to run San Francisco because it's a iconic city with a sort of, rumored mystical undertone. So you can do a lot of cool stuff there. So the little flourishes he added as a player to my game was great.
Nice.
So knowing the area helps a lot because you know the ins and outs. Now you have to tweak it a little bit, but that's all good. He says he ran Resident Evil in a Shadowrun. That's another perfect one.
Oh yeah,
There's the
you
rules there
definitely
for it.
run Resident Evil and Shadowrun. That's an easy, in my opinion, transfer
Yeah,
over.
but yeah. So I mean, as a GM, you really have to pay some idea to what you're comfortable with because it makes a difference. The more comfortable you are, the more stuff runs around, and then you can do things the way I do them. Because we'll get to the third part, I guess. We got 10 minutes left. Is how I run games. Is I run very sandbox. Very rarely do I have a point A to point B. Which obviously you're not going to direct line because these are fucking players. It's like herding cats. But I very rarely have that. I more of make it like we do a lot of superhero games. Put them in a city, do stuff. They're fighting crime, and they'll have it. It'll be like a comic book. It really ends up being like a comic book. It's kind of great. And I think while I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, their real end problem was they had a point A to point B. And you notice how they reached point B, and now it's a lot more random people doing their shit, which I'm here for. But not everyone is, because it's a lot less focused. You're not like looking at that end point now. You're just, you've got She-Hulk off doing her thing. Cool. And
Hey,
you always had Daredevil off doing his thing, and now you have, whatever.
Nerd, what about you? I mean, you're running a bunch of stuff, and you're actually starting a new campaign. How do you like to run, and what do you like to run particularly?
So what I know is 5th edition. That was what I started running. Like I played Pathfinder or first edition Pathfinder for 5 years. I had to have my handheld the whole time because I just didn't quite get it. Once I started playing 5th Ed, I started running, what was it, Tales of the Yawning Portal, and invited all dungeon masters, people that had played, whether they had played 5th edition or previous editions, they'd all DM'd before. So they were real patient with me, and then I decided that I was going to do homebrew. I decided that the best idea, lo and behold, best idea, quote unquote, it was to hand out magic items like candy at way too low levels and turn everything into a pun. Like everything was a pun. Everything.
Look,
And in this
I talked to
campaign I
somebody
decided
earlier
to go
about my YA, which is Piers Anthony. And if you know anything about Piers Anthony and Xanth, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So this campaign, I'm going in the opposite direction. It's set 200 years in the past, and it's a much more serious tone and a low magic setting. So I can't hand out magic items like candy. I want them to be more serious, more invested. Yes, punishing is fun.
I'll be honest, as an aside, I like low magic settings better because magic items mean something.
Exactly.
If you get a sword that just gives you a bonus to hit, but it's got a cool name and backstory, fucking that's my sword now. I don't care.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm planning to homebrew feats and powers that they may develop depending on choices that they make and all this sort of stuff.
Venom 12 says no more Cthulhu.
Hey Venom, welcome in. No Cthulhu this time around. He was so cheesy. So cheesy.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Respect.
Oh no, there's a whole. Have I ever told you the story of Cthulhu?
I think you told us in like our pre-ramble at one point.
Yeah. It was the elder god made of cheese, and our warlock, our fighter that ended up taking some levels in warlock to Cthulhu, claimed to be the second Curding of Jesus.
Very well. At least he's getting into the game. He's into the right spirit.
Yeah.
All right, so here's before we go and get started in the media section. I wanted to ask this: you're in a fantasy setting and you get to play. You're not running. What are your two choices of characters that you're going to build? Don't even worry about what everybody else is building. Just like I'm going to be playing, I'm going to play this stuff. There's two choices. What are the two choices, John?
I only work in hypothetical situations that could fucking happen.
Well, this is going to fucking happen. So choose two characters, classes that you might.
Are we talking like classic D&D here?
I don't even fucking know, honestly. I don't get to play games. I really don't. I don't even think of what characters I could play because it's not going to happen.
It could be any fantasy setting, but like what are your styles that go in for?
Assassin or some sort of like magical mishap.
Like a wild mage or something?
What? Yeah, like a wild mage or like my goblin character, her panic button was Arms of Hadar in the middle of the party. So I made friends real fast.
Okay.
Like, yeah. Either either chaos or like not necessarily evil, but somebody that's like super skilled and super like determined on like one path. Hyper focus or no focus?
I go the two ends of the spectrums. I like playing bards, especially now. The bards or classes are much better than they have been any other time. Charismatic, get you in trouble type bard. And then paladin.
Popper.
Hey Tyson, what are you doing, buddy? And I like playing paladins, but I don't like playing like lawful stupid paladins. I hate when people over exaggerate, the lawfulness of a paladin type thing. So those are my two that I usually go for.
Lawful Good's a pretty strict alignment on purpose.
Yes, but that's the reason why I say lawful stupid. Some people just take it. Some people like lawful good and go, "Oh, I can't breathe right now because of whatever reason," type thing. So, all right,
It's just stupid.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
At that point.
All right. So, what are your two favorite worlds to run, John? If you have the choice, you got to pick two RPGs to run. What are your two favorite RPGs to run?
Well, definitely superheroes is number one because I've run a ton of superhero games. And Gonzo can't hear me. I said superheroes for my first one, Gonzo.
Sorry, I had to lock the door.
Yeah, superheroes. I don't know about the second one because honestly, I don't know that we've done enough. I will fluctuate between fantasy and sci-fi for the other ones, but those are sort of the three main genres as far as I'm concerned. We don't really do any horror because it's really hard to run horror properly. You have to have the right party, and yeah, mostly superhero.
Okay, nerd.
I've really only run one game, so I think if I had a chance to run a second game, it would be Blades in the Dark, aside from D&D.
Cool. I like high fantasy, and if it's not a high fantasy, I like modern fantasy or like modern I would say modern fantasy is about the best way to put it. Would probably be the best. I don't mind horror too much, but like it's a world of darkness type thing, not Cthulhu-ish type stuff. I don't care for the Cthulhu or anything of that nature. But
yeah.
So you're much more Dresden-ish.
Yes, very much like a Dresden type, which I played a really cool Dresden game that I wish I could have played more of.
Have you ever played Urban Shadows?
No.
It's a Powered by the Apocalypse game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know the system.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that one's got that contemporary urban fantasy.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I like urban fantasy, stuff like that. World of Darkness, Dresden File style type thing would work out really well.
Gotcha. Whereas Xandervoy says he likes modern super sci-fi or industrial age, and Venom 12 likes like using D&D or Castles and Crusade to do grimdark fantasy, or like to do high sci-fi.
Yeah, I don't like to run a lot of science fiction. But I will. I did a good Star Wars campaign, and I got a friend of mine, his Heavy Gear campaign, his Heavy Gear books are RPGs coming out. And so I'll look into that and see if I want to. But sci-fi is not usually my go-to on stuff.
Well, sci-fi makes a lot of things harder to do.
Yeah.
Like even modern, let's be honest, cell phones have made even mysteries and suspense slightly more difficult than they used to be.
Yeah. Legionnaire says you like the
fantasies
Mistborn system. I bought the Mistborn system and never got to play it. And then, of course, after I was done with it, I traded it away to somebody. Yeah, the Heavy Gear RPG is, last time I talked to Nick, they are on the way to the printer. So we should be getting it pretty soon.
Cool.
Let's go ahead and go over to the media. Because I know John, since John has been away and everything, and we didn't get to talk about anything last week, he's got like 10 things, I'm sure. And since
Finally, I have the exact same number of things to talk about as I had last week, since I didn't really have a chance to watch anything this week.
and then I'm sure Nerd has like 75 things because she was gone for 2 weeks. She, I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things to talk about.
I wish I could remember what one of the movies was that I watched, but I fell asleep watching it, so I can't remember what it was.
I pulled a Gonzo and I wrote mine down because I realized I was forgetting one of them very much.
Yeah, I usually write down or text myself what I've watched after I've watched it, and it's like, yeah, this is gonna have to work. So I'm gonna watch. I watched something purely because I wanted to torture myself, and John is such a huge fan of the franchise that I had to, and I had to watch it. And
Wait, I said franchise, so it's not Cats, so we're okay.
um,
I don't
And-
think they made an Atlantic Rim 2, so he's probably still okay.
so I decided to watch Fast X. Holy fuck. Okay, so we know that reality and physics left this movie, but those two bitches,
No. Let's
they,
be
they
honest.
they didn't write a
This
love
movie
letter.
Series and physics broke up a long time ago, and they're hate fucking anyone else they can just to get back at the other one.
Yeah, I'm watching this and I'm like, the fuck, the hell? No, that would. I mean, he launches his car off to hit a crane, to swing the crane around, to hit something, to knock it off somewhere else, and the car, after it hits the crane, lands and he drives off. And I'm like,
Yeah,
Motherfucker.
that's on track.
I'm
Yeah, that
like,
totally tracks.
Like I'll be honest, if you have that problem with this movie, you should not have watched this fucking movie.
yeah. I was watching it 'cause I knew it was going to be a problem. I knew I was going to watch it and I'm like, this is so dumb. This
You have
is
to
so
turn
so
that
dumb.
that part of your brain
Oh, yeah.
off. It's just there for enjoyment.
Yeah, I looked at it and I'm like, man, if I was an 8-year-old kid, this would be the coolest shit in the world to watch. Because, that's where the physic and mentality of this, like, just turn your brain off has to go. You have to forget all of that. The lines in this were so cheesy. I was just waiting for everything to just be family. Family. And it was.
They've actually laid off it a little bit. It's not like you're gonna die doing a drinking game every time they say family. I just advise against it if you like to be sober.
Yeah. I mean, and it is a part 1 of 2. They have one more coming out, and it's going to be supposedly the end of the series. And I'm like, how?
It's too bad they had a perfect ending after Paul Walker passed. If they'd
Oh, yeah.
done that movie and if they'd ended it then, that would have been perfect end of the series. They didn't need to do anything else.
No, but they had to keep making money.
I mean,
Yeah,
this
about that.
this is better than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I mean, this is so much better, and I mean, like I
The
said,
real problem with this series is that Rock is not the Rock. That Vin Diesel has become the worst part of it.
yeah,
Like early on, Vin Diesel was Vin Diesel, and he and Paul Walker carried that. Since Paul Walker passed, Vin Diesel has been the worst part of it. Like honestly, early on, when Vin Diesel does a heel turn because he has to in the one where they jump the submarine, 8 I think it is. Like having a team with The Rock was much more enjoyable than having Vin Diesel in it.
Yeah.
So.
yeah. I mean, this movie was bad. It's just horrible. I mean, even the plot is bad.
I hear Jason Momoa fucking is great though. He's, like,
He's
enjoyable
funny
fuck to
as
watch.
shit, and his character is so over the top. You're just like, okay, at least this guy's
He
over
knows
the top.
what movie he's in.
Yes.
Like like we talk about this all the time. So it's okay if you know what movie you're in.
Yeah. And he's way over the top in this, and you can tell he knows it. But Vin Diesel doesn't. Vin Diesel thinks this is Oscar worthy, performancing type stuff, and I'm just like,
Or he's just phoning it in.
yeah.
No, I don't think he is. I think he just isn't connected with reality anymore. Because I'll be honest, ever since pretty much the third Riddick movie where you're just like, yikes, dude, this is a little much.
Yeah. But I mean, I watched it, and everything's CGI'd. Everything's so overly CGI'd, it's not even funny.
Well, yeah, they're doing stuff you can't do with a real car.
And they're doing stuff that you can't, even stuff you can do with a real car, they weren't even doing it with a real car.
Well, I mean, that's a problem.
So on a rating of space herpes, yeah, this is like a 4. This is bad. Like I said, reality and physics, those bitches didn't even write up a breakup letter or anything. They just ghosted it. They're gone. They don't even exist. They're extinct. And the characters are not fun. The characters are not interesting. It's just there. It's bad.
That's a strong endorsement for a movie. I should go watch that right now.
John, what's your first one?
Well, I'm going to talk about a Netflix original movie, Hidden Strike, which had potential because it stars Jackie Chan and John Cena.
Okay.
And like off that, I'm like, I'll watch it. Now, it is good to say this is a Chinese production. It's in English, but it is all the production companies are Chinese. And the basic idea is Jackie Chan is the leader of like a mercenary military group, and he's got to get scientists and workers out of a oil refinery in the Middle East, where apparently there's been lots of combat and shit. Get them out unharmed. And then John Cena is like a guy who lives in that area now, used to be special forces, and he leads his team, including his brother, against them. And then, of course, they have to team up because that's the way these movies go. I had to write this movie down because it is very forgettable. Like, John Cena and Jackie Chan have good chemistry together, but Jackie Chan's old and he can't do the action he used to do. Some of the scenes in it are fun, a little out of place for the movie, which has a generally slightly more serious bend. Yeah, it's just forgettable. None of the action is amazing. I don't look at any of the scenes going, I want to see that scene again. I got there and I was like, huh, well, that was a movie I watched. Um, I think John Cena has made great strides in his acting, but I find some of his older movies more enjoyable than this, not just because the movies are more interesting. So I'm going to give this a 3. It's not offensive. It's also not good. You'll watch it and go, that was a movie I watched. It had some action. It was okay. Luckily, it comes with Netflix, so you're not paying for it. Nerd?
All right, I'm trying to figure out which one to start with because there was a lot of rewatches.
If you had a disappointing one, I think that'd be the first. Captain
Okay,
Mizzy, don't you disrespect Bulletproof
here's
Monk.
my hot take. I don't like Starship Troopers.
Do you mean like the first one?
There was more than one.
Oh, yes.
Oh, we're there.
Okay, yeah, the first one. So yeah, we watched that at DisneyCon.
And that's like Casper Van Diemen's Shining Monument. That's about it. Also, fucking Michael Ironsides is great.
Okay, as a cult classic, it's totally there. As a cult classic, it's totally there. It just never grabbed me the way that it did a lot of people my age.
That's because it's Verhoeven, and Paul Verhoeven is all about social commentary through the most violent means. RoboCop, Total Recall, they're all scathing social commentaries.
I didn't realize that was all the same person.
Yeah, he's all the same person. And honestly, I would say Starship Troopers is clearly the worst of those three. But it's scathing social commentary, in there. It's I can't fault someone for not liking it. It's
like, I get what they were trying to do. It's kind of one of those meh movies to me.
Yeah.
So I give it 2.
It was a pretty decent rating. Wouldn't give it much more than 2 myself, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe 1.5, 2.
Yeah.
Because it's got good points. Some of the parts don't stand up anymore. But I'll be honest. Let's say I would give it a 2, but then Michael Ironside and Clancy Brown take half off, so it gets
Yes.
1.5 because I love both of them.
Okay, fair, fair. And then Neil Patrick Harris.
Neil Patrick Harris is good in it too. Denise Rogers is in it. I like Dina Meyer better.
Yeah. I forgot Lori Petty was also in it.
Is she?
I think. Was that what we were watching? What was I watching that
No.
had Lori Petty in it?
Was that Tank Girl?
No, it wasn't Tank Girl. It definitely wasn't
Oh.
Tank Girl. Now
Was
it must be the
it,
movie I couldn't remember what it was that I watched.
I'm trying to think of what has Lori Petty in it that would remotely get confused with
And
that.
it's not in the army now.
Hold on. Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze. Is it that one?
No.
I can't brain that.
She's IMDb in it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, while you're working
Anyways,
that one,
John's up.
I'll go with mine. So watching new things that is on streaming, I watched the new TMNT Mutant Mayhem.
I haven't watched yet. It's on my list, but
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil because this one's, actually got some stuff in it. And this is the movie that the soundtrack is much better than the movie. And the soundtrack is actually, the way the songs are put in are done really, really well. And
I've heard that as well, and I've heard a couple tracks, and they're not necessarily my normal genre, but I dug them.
yeah, they fit in. And the reason why I say this is because, and I laugh because when I first heard of this person's name, they were just starting out in the music industry, and I really liked their music. And now they're doing like music for this movie. They did the music for the Watchmen TV series, which was a good TV series. And it's Trent Reznor. Trent Reznor was behind it, and he is just
A lot of them
kicking
did
the
that.
shit
Mark
out of it.
Mothersbaugh from fucking Devo does
Yeah.
fucking soundtracks now.
Yeah, and I
Good.
mean, it was a good soundtrack. The movie was just okay. It was just there. I didn't care too much for who was doing what and how they were doing it, and the story was just okay. It was just meh, in my opinion.
Interesting.
Artwork was okay. I mean, it was a new take. That it was kind of a clay animation style,
I
non-clean
like what I've
lines.
seen of the
Yeah.
animation because it's different. I like the style.
Yeah.
I also love the fact that they fucking let them have the proper time to make it. They didn't run a fucking sweatshop like most other studios.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was just okay. Soundtrack to me, I think, was better than the movie, and I enjoyed the soundtrack a whole lot more. Will they have more episodes? Will they do another one?
Probably.
Probably, because there is thing done on a cliffhanger type stuff, and there is an after credit scene, which they'll probably do it, and I hope they do because I mean, more turtles is always good, and more turtles is better than no turtles at all. So it gets my 2 to 2.5 space herpes type thing. It's just okay.
Let's be honest. It's not like any Turtles movie has really broken 1.5 to 2.
Yeah.
None of them.
No. John?
Next one I watched was a new one to me. Was Moneyball with Brad Pitt and what's his name? Nerdy guy.
I know who you're talking about, but I totally forgot.
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
that guy.
Yeah. It's got other actors in it, but those are the two main characters, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I'd seen some clips and all. I finally got to see Chris Pratt not just be Chris Pratt. He wasn't in it a lot, but he was interesting in it. I understand based on a true story doesn't mean everything in it is true, but I like the way it was portrayed. I thought it did a good job. A little scattershot at point going into Brad Pitt's character's life when you didn't need all of that. I think they were trying to show what he was risking by doing what he did. But no, I very much enjoy it. I think it was a great pickup for. I think I paid $2 for the DVD, so I mean it was a fucking great pickup for $2.
There you go.
We got that local place that does use DVDs and stuff still, so it's great. Just go in and find some used DVDs. I enjoyed the crap out of it. I give it 1.5. I thought it was a little oddly paced at points, and the style of it was occasionally off-putting. You wanted different stuff necessarily than it gave you, but that wasn't the story it was telling. Maybe I just wanted different stuff than it gave me. But it was still very enjoyable. I thought Jonah Hill and Brad, I think every actor, even the baseball scouts, I've had some actual baseball scouts in there. I think they actually did a great job, portraying their roles. And I like also that they didn't necessarily say, "Hey, scouts are wrong." They made it clear it's just this is the way they're going to build the team because they have no money. So I enjoyed the crap out of it and recommend it if you get a chance. If you like baseball at all. Nerd.
I rewatched Bubba Hotep.
I have not seen Bubba Hotep when I don't. Talk about good soundtrack, though. The score to that is chef's kiss.
Yeah. I hadn't watched that. This was only the second time I'd ever seen it. I saw it when I
heard about it years and years and years ago, but never got a chance to watch it. It is on my list.
It is a delight. It doesn't take it. I mean, it's a Bruce Campbell movie. It does not take itself too seriously. And Ozzie Davis playing a black man who claims to be JFK with a bag of sand in the back of his head is probably the best character in that movie.
This delightfully quirky is what I've heard about it.
Yes, it is delightfully quirky. It's kind of gross at times, but I mean, it's a B horror movie.
Yeah, that's sort of my style. Also, Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell's a fucking national treasure.
Oh yeah,
and it is a travesty that he has not gotten to do more movies than he did.
So I give that one a solid 2 because it's definitely not his best work, but it's definitely up there amongst his better stuff.
I'll be honest. I would watch something because Bruce Campbell is in it. I'll be honest. I watched Burn Notice partially because Bruce Campbell was in it, and that was a fucking great call.
Same. Gonzo?
So I took was looking forward to this TV series, really wanted to watch it, couldn't wait for it, and I'm really disappointed. I watched The Continental.
I haven't seen it yet.
So the first episode is an hour and a half long. Every episode is an hour and a half long. And it's only a 3-part episode. It's 3 parts. It's boring as shit. Okay. It is so boring. I haven't even thought about going to watch the second episode because I know it's going to be an hour and a half. And I'm like, it really is not good. And I really hate that because I was really looking forward to this. Because I like the John Wick universe and I wanted to do it. I mean, it's based in the 70s. On that
series? Oh, I was going to watch fucking Twisted Metal at the same time.
Yeah. And I probably won't go back to it. This is one of the first shows that I probably will because I'm a sucker for punishment.
Shock. Are you telling me that John Wick universe is not as good without John Wick?
Yeah. I mean, it could have been though.
None of those people are in it though. You don't have Ian McShane or anybody.
No. It could have been though. It could have been really good, and the trailers they got for it look pretty good and fun. The action in it is just okay. It's just, and I was looking forward to learning about the universe, the John Wick universe and the John Wick thing. I really, really am sad about this. This is getting like a 3.5 for me. It's just not good.
No, 3.5 one episode in. There are 2 episodes that could change his mind.
Correct. I'm going to try to watch the second episode, but if the second episode, I'm just like, I mean, especially if they're an hour and a half long. That is harsh.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Andrew doesn't like John Wick's universe. I mean, technically it doesn't work, but I love the John Wick movies. Those guys, I mean, we talked about that last week on top 5 movie franchises.
But, I was like looking forward to it. Like, okay, what are they going to do? Why is the Continental set up? Why, what's the history of it? And it's like a bad. So
it's all the reasons why I say prequels are stupid.
Yeah, this is just not good.
Hmm.
John, what's your next one?
My last one is I rewatched The Expendables 3.
Okay.
I will still maintain that is the best movie in that trilogy. Well, there's four of them, and I haven't seen the fourth one yet, but it's the best of the first three. They each have flaws. I think this one's flaws are more easily ignored and are generally less annoying. It's the PG-13 version. It's not rated R, which is good because the fucking bloodshed they had in the earlier ones was not great. It was CGI. It was
Yeah.
terrible. But I love the idea of him getting a new team and going out because he doesn't want to get the earlier one killed. Which, I mean, honestly, I could go on a tirade about why I think that's a flaw with a movie series called The Expendables, having no one fucking die, really, except for the co-star of the week. But I enjoyed this. I thought Stallone, all of his crew give pretty good performances. It's Randy Kocher's best performance of the three, which is not saying much, doesn't get much to do, but he makes the most of it this one. Um, Having Wesley Snipes in it, Wesley Snipes is fucking going, and I love it. He is being delightfully awkward and crazy. That befits his character. Generally, you watch it just because you like good action, but I love how they bring everyone in. Everyone they bring in is enjoyable. The younger crew is pretty enjoyable overall, even if they're, I mean, clearly they're setting up a sequel without Sylvester Stallone, but didn't go anywhere, which is fine. You don't need to. Harrison Ford is a clear upgrade over Bruce Willis. All respect to Bruce Willis fans. This is, I mean, obviously something with Bruce
Wait,
Willis's.
they brought in Harrison Ford.
Yeah, Harrison Ford in the third one as opposed to Bruce Willis, because Bruce Willis was being the CIA guy who they talked to, and this one they say he's been reassigned and because he wanted too much money. And then, but then they get Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford's he's growling his way through it, but he's enjoyable. Most new people were enjoyable. I mean, stand out to I don't remember actors' names, but their hacker guy is super fun. He played in Maverick also. All of them are decent. The action scene, like the last 45 minutes of the movie or so, is just, or I guess it's technically it's a half an hour movie. It's just like one giant action scene. Antonio Banderas is fucking great. He is enjoyable as hell in the whole movie. I'll be honest. I give this the highest rating. I give this a 1.5. It is a fun comfort movie with lots of named actors in it, just giving performances. Arnold Schwarzenegger's doing a good job. I love it. Neither of those guys take themselves too seriously anymore, him or Sylvester Stallone. It's just a fun movie with a shout out to Antonio Banderas for stealing the show when he's in it. Even Ronda Rousey puts in a pretty good performance. Nerd?
I tried watching a TV show called Will about William Shakespeare, except for they over glamorized everything. It was just pretty people in their drama. You don't give a like.
Oh, I'm looking at the cast. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of pretty faces with not great acting, and you don't really care about the main characters. Like, I got 3 episodes in and just went, meh.
Yeah, it seems that way looking at it. I'm like, lots of pretty people. If they can act, they can't act. Fucking about. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Well, it's too bad, but
it's got some actors that are capable of doing better, but the roles that they put them in are just awkward. So, I give this one 3.5.
Oh wow! So what a lower rating you've given it anything.
I know. Normally I have better taste.
I mean, we can't all choose winners.
I know.
I can go 2 more. Anybody else have anything else?
5 minutes, so you're probably going to do one more, but go ahead.
Nah, it'll probably be 2.
I got nothing else.
Nerd, you got anything else? Okay. So, I'm going to give a quick one. I watched the new Little Mermaid, because I was going to give it a new chance. Yeah, that sucked. It's just plain and simple. It was bad. It was not good. It didn't follow the story. It was not acted very well. It was just not good. I was not impressed. I was not happy with it. I'm sorry about that because it could have been something good. Even the music wasn't even done right. The songs weren't even done correctly. It just was not. It was very boring, very slow. Um,
Well, hopefully this will put a bullet in Disney's live action remakes of animated stuff, and they can actually go to something more original.
well, they got a new one coming out called Wish that I'm hoping is going to do good. But so I do not recommend the new Little Mermaid. It was not good at all.
I'll
It's
take that off my list.
yeah.
Wait, it wasn't there.
Yep.
I do have one more.
Okay.
Oh, she's got one more.
I'll give another one that's quick because I can't give a rating for it because it just started today or this weekend. And Generation V started up, which is a spinoff of The Boys. Yeah, John. I already see John rolling his eyes.
I like The Boys. That is on my list of things to watch. Gen V is on my list of things to watch.
I don't mind if people like The Boys. As a superhero and comic book fan, I think
Yeah.
it's been done better in the past by better writers.
Yeah. First 3 episodes came out. They're actually pretty decent. They're actually pretty good. I'm going to give it a more chance. I'm hoping that it doesn't go into the CW field because it is young adults in this, and I don't want it to get all CW-y. But it's interesting. Characters are interesting. Powers are pretty cool. It is your typical boys type thing. So there's blood and guts and sexuality and weird shit going on. So you got to be prepared for it. But I'm enjoying it so far. Nerd?
I finally watched the Barbie movie.
Oh, good.
It was better than I expected.
That is the most common rating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was much better than I expected, and it hit me right in the feels like everybody kept telling me it would. I thought it
if I had
was
the time, I'd
very
watch
well
the three.
acted.
Okay.
I think the bromance between the two Kens, Ryan Gosling and the guy who played Shen Chen from and the Five Rings. I can't remember. I don't know the actor's name. I'm terrible at this. Yeah. There's like everything, and like everything is researched to be accurate to like Barbie historically, but I also know that they did the thing of like everything is pink, so like they ran the industry out of pink paint for a while.
Yep, they did.
That's funny.
But without spoiling anything, it's quite good. I give it half.
Okay. I mean, like, literally, I would watch it if it came on for free. If I had, nothing else pending. I mean, it's. I mean, shit.
It's worth a watch. It's
Let's be honest.
it's definitely fun.
I sat down and watched the fucking Emoji Movie fucking way back when. So I
Why?
could watch Barbie. Because I had an hour and a half to kill and I was unemployed. It wasn't as bad as you think. It also wasn't good.
Well, guys, that's our show. We are going to be sending you off to Rick is Not a Ferret, playing some games. And we'll send you off to there. Guys, please take care of yourself.
Spoiler, he might actually be a ferret.
He might actually be a ferret, but just don't say that.
No, say that. Tell him I told you to.
I am
No,
Lord
tell
of the
them
Animal
Banyan
Kingdom.
told you to.
Fear my pocket
Tell them
weasels.
Banyan told you to. That's even better.
Yeah. Banyan said to say he's really a ferret.
Yes. Yes.
Guys, we really appreciate you listening. Appreciate you contributing to the channel, hanging out with us, everything that you do on Facebook and all of our other feeds. We will be releasing some episodes of Past the Paint Water. So
Which we've been promising for a while.
yeah, we were
We're gonna make
just
him do it. We're gonna make him do it. Nerd and I are gonna go to Gonzo and force him to do it. We're gonna hold him down at his keyboard until he fucking releases them.
and we're gonna get some more in there too. But like always, look out for each other. Make sure you're not getting anyone else sick. Make sure you're taking care of yourself physically, mentally, socially, and also check in on your friends every once in a while. If you see something, say something. If you hear something, do something. If you can do something, do it. And if you can't, find someone that will. For More Than Dice, I'm Gonzo.
I'm John.
I'm Nerd.
Good.
Good night.
Make sure you hit that raid button